So today I'm on here as I wanted to speak about leadership and seeing what's been happening around the world. It's quite interesting to see the leaders, how they're tackling these problems and what are they doing to help these people. Now, when I'm talking about leaders, I'm talking about prime ministers and presidents. To see all this misery going around the world, not only because of the situation, but also with crimes in each country and people dying of hunger and rapes and wars and fires, etc., etc. I today wanted to highlight and talk about a specific country that I think has done a true amazing job tackling not only this situation with the virus, but also with many other problems they had in their country. Now, the country I'm talking about is Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka, if you all remember, I did a video last year in connection, or actually it was just before the election, and it was to give a message out to the Sri Lankan people to make a wise decision of who you were going to choose as your leader of your country, and to make sure that he was going to look out for the interest of your people and of the country. Now, the person that I mentioned was Mr. Gota Rajapaksa. Obviously, I had a gut feeling about this man, and obviously my gut feeling was correct. And today, Mr. Gota Rajapaksa has been leading the country of Sri Lanka about 4 months now, if I'm not mistaken. And within 4 months, he has done so much for this country. He has increased the economy and the market shares. He also has helped the poor people to get jobs. He also has helped the paddy field businessmen to reopen the paddy fields and to get back on the fields and to carry on doing the work. And by doing so, he was creating more jobs for people, and so on and so on. And he has done so much more. You guys have to remember that Mr. Gota Rajapaksa had to pick up the pieces from the previous government, which was totally corrupted and was busy selling most of parts of Sri Lanka to other countries for money and for his pocket. He obviously the ex-president, I call him Toto Baba. Sri Lankan people will understand when I say the word Toto Baba. He had sold the harbour to China, and he had sold the baby elephants to India. Now, he's had to come in and he's had to pick up all these issues, you know, the economy being down, lack of jobs, more and more poorer people on the streets, etc., etc. So within 4 months, Mr. Gota Rajapaksa has obviously he had a vision of what he wanted to do and tackle these problems, and obviously he wanted to help the people of Sri Lanka. And within those 4 months, he has done so much. And also on top of it, having these problems with the situation we're having at the moment with coronavirus, he was one of the first leaders to react and take extra measurements. Now, Sri Lanka was the first country to go under quarantine. Sri Lanka was the first country to go to China and go and pick up their people and ensure that they got back to Sri Lanka safe. Sri Lanka did a curfew and took this really seriously, and therefore this is why Sri Lanka is one of the countries that is least affected by the coronavirus, and so far they have not had any deaths. Now, before I continue, I would like to also read you a piece of what a Sri Lankan doctor has written. He is a doctor in the USA, and he has written the following. His name is Dr. Gaya Kulasinghe. I hope I'm saying it correctly. I thought to write a few words on Facebook, especially for my friends in Sri Lanka. Though I have never posted my personal views on social media before, as a physician currently working the front line dealing with new coronavirus pandemic in a leading hospital in USA, I have witnessed a drastic difference between USA, which believes to be part of the first world country, and Sri Lanka, known as the third world country. I don't have enough words to appreciate the Sri Lankan government, healthcare personnel, military and all the other supportive organizations for their extraordinary leadership and contribution compared to the subpar means used by so-called developed nations to handle this horrific battle. Please tell your fellow Sri Lankans how lucky they are to have a government and healthcare sector pleading them to get tested if they are suspected to have infection, begging people who needed to be quarantined to contain the spread of the disease for the sake of the rest of the nation, mobilizing the little money and resources they have to build those quarantine facilities, going above and beyond to take care of most of the needs of the public during this country's lockdown period, etc. On the other hand, people in the USA have to beg authorities to get tested done for them, and still chances of getting them done was very slim for the past couple of weeks due to lack of testing kits and facilities. People who were more than 100% sure they got infected were turned down on some occasions as they did not meet the criteria to get the test done. Due to multiple reasons which I am not going to discuss here, America has lost the battle against the virus threat. Now the country is leading at the first place among other nations with the highest number of infected cases and escalating numbers of facilities as well. One of the biggest problems of the healthcare workers here is extreme shortage of personal protective gears. We are asked by our authorities to go to battlefields with the toy guns, risking own lives, our colleagues, our healthy patients, and over loved ones' lives. We are asked to use scarves and handkerchiefs as face masks. Once we run out of our last supply of face masks, we have to use or reuse N95 masks, and we would get one surgical mask per provider per day. Some emergency room physicians have stopped sleeping in their bedrooms as they are afraid that they would harm their loved ones, and started sleeping in their garage or in the hospital on-call rooms for days. This is a bitter truth of the reality of USA, supposedly the most advanced, privileged country in the world. Hats off to my colleagues and all the other health professionals in Sri Lanka for their noble duties that they are performing in during this difficult time, etc., etc. And it just goes on and on. Anyway, a beautiful message, and I totally agree. So, and this is why I'm on here today, because I wanted to take my hat off to the president and the government of Sri Lanka and say what an amazing job you guys have done. Also recently, one of the British tourists have arrived here in London, and he was on the news, and he spoke very highly of Sri Lanka and what an amazing president Sri Lanka had, and how serious they took this in Sri Lanka. When he went to the airport, everybody was wearing gloves, they had masks, they kept their distance, how they had the curfew in Sri Lanka, you were not allowed to go out. You know, they had the military and the army all over Sri Lanka, made sure that people stayed indoors, etc., etc. So he was shocked when he arrived here in the UK, when he arrived at the airport, that none of the security guys at the airport was even wearing masks or wearing gloves. Now, I know a lot of people that work at this airport, or actually not just this airport, but other airports, and the staff there have told me that they were actually told they were not allowed to wear masks or these gloves because it looked unprofessional. Well, I'm sorry, if you have to take precautions, then professional or not professional, you need to use them to protect not only yourself, but to protect other people. So therefore, what I wanted to say today is I totally admire this leader of Sri Lanka, Mr. Gota Rajapaksa. I think the world of you. I think you are a true, amazing leader. And the way you have tackled all these problems in Sri Lanka and how you have done it in such a short period of time, I wanted to say, Mr. Gota Rajapaksa, I admire you. I think you are totally amazing, and I think all the leaders around the world can learn a thing or two about you and about how to be a leader and how to run the country and how to look after your people, look out for the interest of your people. For example, I'm from South Africa, and my president, Mr. Ramaphosa, obviously took over the country from also a corrupted president, and within the 1 year he still hasn't tackled any of the problems. As a matter of fact, it has actually gone worse. Now, Mr. Gota has done it within 4 months, right? 4 months. He has done so much. Now, my president from South Africa hasn't even done it with 1 year. Anyway, I just wanted to say, Mr. Gota Rajapaksa, and to all the people of Sri Lanka, you guys are super amazing. As an outsider and as a tourist, I truly admire everything that has been happening in Sri Lanka, and I hope that the rest of the world could look up to you and say, wow, what an amazing government and what an amazing bunch of people Sri Lanka is. Sri Lankan people, I hope that once this quarantine is over, that you all stand up and you all applaud for your government and for your president, because he has done an amazing job. Mr. Gota Rajapaksa, if today I was here to give you an award, I would probably have awarded you as the best leader and the best president of the world. And I wanted to wish you all the best of luck with sorting out the rest of your problems. And I wanted to also say, Sri Lanka, keep flourishing and keep shining and keep doing what you are doing, because you are doing an amazing job. I wish you all the best of luck. Thank you for listening to me. Buddha Saranai.